Good evening. My name is Ken Prosky. I live at 1323 Chancellor Street, which abuts the parking lot on the east side of Ryan Field. I would like to discuss the impact of the proposed amendment on my family, other nearby residents who live in this area. The yellow shading here shows the location of 76 homes on the east side, where 61 residents so far have already signed the petition opposing this amendment. In today's meeting packet, city staff states that they researched the zoning requirements at Big Ten sports arenas. It was in their information. I also researched these arenas using satellite maps to compare neighborhoods, parking, and access roads. On each map that follows, there's a red circle that shows the 100-foot distance from an arena. Yellow shows the location of homes within 1,000 feet, and blue shows the location of off-street arena parking. Starting with Michigan State's arena, the first 11 slides do not show any yellow shading, which indicates there are no single-family homes within 1,000 feet of these 11 arenas. Each map does show, number 1, large areas of off-street parking, number 2, major access roads, often on multiple sides of each arena, and number 3, complete separation of arenas from residential areas. So I'm going to whip through these really quickly. Here's Michigan, and they don't hold any for-profit events. Maryland, Nebraska, Rutgers, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Minnesota, Illinois, and Penn State. Nobody lives within 1,000 feet. Lastly, Welsh Ryan, excuse me, that's incorrect. Now let's look at the remaining 3 Big Ten schools. Each of them has single-family homes within 1,000 feet of their arenas. At Iowa, there are 31 homes, but these are walled off from the arena by a major highway and railroad. Purdue has 79 single-family homes, but these are separated by a 4-lane road on the east side. There's ample off-street parking, and there's no for-profit events here either. Lastly, we have Welsh Ryan, which is an anomaly compared to the other Big Ten arenas. It is an island completely surrounded by 225 single-family homes within 1,000 feet, plus 10 apartments and condo buildings. The primary access road, Central Street, is a single lane in each direction, and off-street parking, as you've heard, is severely limited. However, the proposed amendment would allow events anywhere in the U2 district, not just Welsh Ryan. There are 520 single-family homes within 1,000 feet of the U2 district, plus 21 apartment and condo buildings with hundreds of additional residents. This just shows an unshaded 3D view of the same 1,000-foot perimeter. In summary, Welsh Ryan has twice as many homes within 1,000 feet of its arena as all other Big Ten universities combined, and about 5 times as many as within 1,000 feet of the U2 district. Let's talk about parking. We've heard a lot about that. There are actually 1,359 spaces in the east and west Ryan lots, or 1 spot for every 5.2 arena seats. In contrast, other Big Ten arenas have an average of 1 parking spot for every 2.6 arena seats, which means that on the average, they have twice as much parking as Welsh Ryan. So how many parking spaces are typically needed or required for sports arenas? I spent a lot of time looking this up. Big Ten arenas have enough parking for 2.6 persons per vehicle on the average, but I found several zoning codes, and they typically require 1 spot for every 3 arena seats. I really don't want to debate which number is best, but Welsh Ryan only has 1 spot for every 5.2. To meet these parking ratios of 2.6 or 3.0, Welsh Ryan would need 2,300 to 2,700 parking spaces. Since there are actually 1,359, the remaining 1,000 to 1,300 vehicles would need to park on residential streets, or patrons would need to use another form of transportation. I do agree that not everybody would drive. I know that. So I researched how many folks might actually be projected to use other transportation. I contacted Ravinia and Metra and then calculated that their patrons, roughly 8 to 12% of them, use Metra for sold-out pop concerts. I'm one of them people. Also, an engineering firm just completed a detailed traffic and parking impact study for the proposed Northlight Theater District. Their report, which is included in your packet, projects that 20% of patrons would not drive because of the theater's location in downtown Evanston. Using the most favorable estimate here, 20%, Northwestern would still have a deficit of 500 to 800 spaces in the best case scenario. The east and west lots, I got behind there. The east and west lots would be full for events for 3,500 to 4,000 patrons. Attendance above this number would result in unavoidable parking spillover into residential areas, whether or not there's a shuttle or not. Currently, events with 3,500 or more patrons, where the lot would fill up, they occur already on 22 days a year, not counting the 7 football games. None of these are temporary events that are proposed. Northwestern is now proposing to hold 13 additional days of commercial events with up to 7,000 persons. This would increase the total number for these events from 22 to 35 days per year, which is a 59% increase compared to the current number. On these 35 days, the neighborhood streets essentially become a spillover parking lot for thousands of patrons who couldn't get a spot in the east or west lot. But our streets are narrow, many with parking on both sides. On event days, on Asbury, for example, opposing traffic always needs to stop and take turns because there is only passage on a single lane. Emergency vehicles always creep and maneuver as they struggle to reach their destination. On non-event days, residents, hospital employees, local businesses, schools, and emergency vehicles all must share the same central street, which is also the primary access road for Welsh Ryan. It doesn't take a lot of additional traffic to cause overcapacity and congestion. Even an ETHS commencement with 5,000 people creates intense congestion. Thousands of additional vehicles converge onto a few narrow roads, create long backups, and then use up all the street parking for many blocks. Vehicles routinely use side streets and even alleys to try to bypass the congestion. Access to local shopping and essential amenities is burdensome and sometimes impossible.
Mr. Frinsky, 2 minutes, so if you can move.
Residents sometimes get trapped and can't get in or out. Emergency vehicles would certainly not be able to provide a timely response. Immediately abutting neighbors like myself have additional adverse impacts. We have often and frequently been awakened before 7 a.m. or after 11 p.m. by motorized vehicles. There have also been frequent eyesores due to lengthy storage of dangerous commercial vehicles, equipment, bathrooms, immediately adjacent gasoline trucks to our residential property, sometimes stored up to 6 months. Our property values have already been adversely affected. We've had 2 property appraisals and both subtracted 5% from the market value. On the top half of this slide, the bulleted points describe how existing Welsh Ryan events already spill over into our neighborhood and create disruptions, nuisances, and safety issues. The bottom half emphasizes that adding 13 commercial days will worsen the frequency, duration, intensity, and unpredictability of these events. 4 slides to go. In situations like these, I'd like to go back to basics. This is the purpose statement for the U2 zoning district. It doesn't get any more basic than this. It is abundantly clear that the district was created to protect surrounding residents from events that are incompatible with the neighborhood. This is what we all bought into when we purchased our homes. The U2 zoning goes even a bit further and states that temporary events like those in the proposed amendment shall not impose undue adverse effects on neighboring streets or property. So in conclusion, the burden of proof is supposed to be on the applicant to provide evidence showing how these code requirements and your standards for amendments will be met. For example, the Northlight Theater proposal that you are considering later today It has over 150 pages of detailed analysis on economics, transportation, parking, traffic, all of this for a venue with 300 people. In contrast, Northwestern's application with 7,000 people that might attend has no evidence. One of the applications on the form from Northwestern that they submitted says, "In what ways is the proposed amendment compatible with the existing development in the immediate vicinity?" Northwestern answered the question, quote, "Not applicable."
So if you can wrap it up, please.
Oh, well, this is my last slide.
Okay.
Well, I hate to say this, but it is applicable to hundreds of us who live in the neighborhood, who live here every day and directly experience what happens to our neighborhood on these days. I trust that the information examples I have just shared with you will help convince you that the proposed amendment is really not compatible with the character of our neighborhood. It does not meet the Plan Commission approval standards as listed here. Therefore, based on this evidence, we must respectfully request that you make a negative recommendation to City Council on this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much.